Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are debating the value of domestic skills and how it will impact on the future of our children and the future of our society. But before I conclude the affirmative case, I would like to challenge three fundamental arguments raised by their team. Firstly, that parents should be the ones to deliver domestic skills rather than schools. Secondly, that the focus of schools must only be on maths and science for it to be successful. And thirdly, that the cost of domestic skills is too great and therefore it's not worth it. All right, let me take those one at a time. Firstly, the idea that it's parents who should be delivering domestic skills. Now, we agree, ladies and gentlemen, fundamentally that parents and families should pass on family traditions. But there is still plenty that can go on in a classroom that isn't a family tradition. How to boil an egg, how to wash your clothes, how to shop nutritionally in a nutritionally balanced way, how to set up an insurance policy for your kids. These are not culturally determined. These are fundamental, what we will call in the affirmative team, survival skills, and therefore we can do those in the classroom. These things are very important. Our opposition are really overstating it when they say that most of traditions are some kind of arcane, old-fashioned grandma's secret recipe. 90% of what all humans do, regardless of their culture or religion, is the same in terms of survival, and we can teach kids that way quite easily. All right, to their second point. They gave us a quote from Christopher Pine saying that the main goals of school have to be maths and science these days. Now, we're not suggesting that we take anything away from maths and science, and we're not certainly challenging the idea that Australia needs to move ahead in the future in the maths and sciences. But we are saying, ladies and gentlemen, that for there to be successful mathematicians and scientists, there needs to be successful human beings as well. So they need to be able to cook, they need to be able to sew, they need to be able to manage their life and their budget, they need to stop their teeth falling out, they need to be able to go to do their doctor's checkups regularly. No matter how brilliant they are, they need to have these skills. Scientists are not going to lose heart in their science by doing half an hour a week of sewing. Again, the opposition are really exaggerating this desperate need for science, and we are not challenging that at all. There's room for both, we're basically saying. The third point that I'd like to challenge, ladies and gentlemen, was their idea that it was just too expensive, that domestic skills classes were somehow too expensive. They came up with some kind of fictional $500 million, which is just, ladies and gentlemen, just a scare campaign. They even say that they made up those figures, that they were just based on averages. It cost $50,000 to train a teacher, cost $20,000 for an industrial oven. These are just made up figures. We don't know. They haven't provided any real data. It's all very hypothetical. But we've got a plan anyway, ladies and gentlemen, even if it does turn out to be really expensive. Why don't we invite the community to come in and become volunteers? Don't worry about school teaching different things to what Grandma's teaching. Bring Grandma in. Teach everybody her secret recipe for Anzac cookies. Bring the local dressmaker in as a community volunteer to help teach the girls how to sew, to teach the boys how to make suits and ties and how to tie a tie, etc. Why don't we involve the community? Why does it have to be a $50,000 trained teacher? The opposition is so unimaginative. The price doesn't have to be that great. After all, we're passing on what our culture says, and everybody in our society has a stake in that. So we reject the idea completely that it's too expensive. All right, now to my summary, ladies and gentlemen. Our model was that we should create an Australian curriculum-style subject that is going to be delivered to every primary school student from 5 years old to 11 years old in Australia. It's going to be assessed in exactly the same way. And we took a social and individual perspective. Our first speaker talked about how making both genders do domestic skills compulsorily will help to break down the old stereotypes of the 1950s. He also described how the family model has changed in that time and how everybody needs to be equipped to be able to manage themselves and manage their lives, not just mum. It's now everybody, so domestic skills are important. Our second speaker took an individual point of view and first spoke about the power of core subjects in those early formative years and how if we equip those young kids with these domestic skills, they'll be set up for life. And secondly, how when we do equip them, they're going to be so confident facing this ever-changing world, moving countries, moving jobs. They'll always be able to manage themselves. So I'd like to leave you with one final question, ladies and gentlemen. What kind of future do we really want to see? And this will be your decision about who wins this debate. Do we want an old-fashioned, stereotype future where men and women know their place in society? Or do we want to break through those old boundaries and set kids up to be confident and powerful leaders for the future? If you follow our model, ladies and gentlemen, and make domestic skills compulsory, that's the future that you'll get.